Hello everybody and welcome back to another video where we're going to take a look at the popular light novels in Japan and what's selling best over there. And well, this one's going to be going back to March 11th to the 17th of 2019. So we're just going to keep on rolling with trying to get all caught up. So let's get with the list. At number 10 with 6,180 copies sold, volume number 4 of Wolf and Parchment. You know, isn't that kind of funny? Because this was like number 10 on the list just for March 4th to 10th. With almost the same sales numbers. Consistency. In any case, this again, it's the sequel to Spice and Wolf. That series, both of these actually are licensed by Yen On. And this one, it is following the daughter of Holo and Lawrence, as well as a boy named Cole, who I guess has sort of grown up alongside of their daughter and I guess traveled with Holo and Lawrence for a while there. So this one is following their adventures. It sounds like the story is looking to be a little bit more epic, maybe a little bit bigger sort of world-changing type thing. Again, I don't know much about the series. I've only read the first volume of Spice and Wolf. Although I must admit, that was a really good series, but with it being well over 20 volumes at this point, a little intimidating to try and get caught up on. At number 9, with 6,383 copies sold, A3, Bad Boy Portrait. We do not have this licensed for English release. This one, it's actually a video game. It's a mobile phone game. And it is a novelization based on the A3 Act Addict Actors is what it is called. The game's an idol-raising type series where you take on the role of a new director trying to keep the Mankai company's theater afloat. So the game is split, I guess, into different seasons of the theater productions. So now this one, it's adapting, I guess, the third act of the mobile game. So each story, I guess, deals with a different theatrical season. So I believe they're tied to the spring, summer, fall, winter, I think. Again, not a game that I play and, you know, not something that I know a whole lot about. I believe that it is slightly like an otome type game. I know that it's mostly male characters that you're interacting with. And I believe music, of course, plays a little bit of a part of it. Again, don't know a whole lot about this one, and honestly, probably even if it was a series that came over to English, not probably one that I would get into. At number 8, with 7,538 copies sold, volume number 10 of Didn't I Say to Make My Abilities Average in the Next Life? This one, of course, we do have licensed for English release. It's being released by 7 Seas. Be careful what you wish for in this magical comedy about the pitfalls of rebirth. When she turns 10 years old, Adele von Asham is hit with a horrible headache, and memories of her previous life as an 18-year-old Japanese girl named Kurahara Misato. That life changed abruptly, however, when Misato died trying to aid a little girl, and then met God. During that meeting, she made an odd request and asked for average abilities in her next life. But few things, especially wishes, ever go quite as planned. So this one, I've read the first volume of it. Super entertaining, the first volume. It sounds like it stays pretty entertaining for a couple of volumes. I don't know if it starts getting kind of repetitive. I don't know, but I really liked the first volume, and it's kind of cute. So, I mean, basically the idea is that this girl was this really overachiever in Japan, and because of it, you know, there was a lot of high expectations. She felt a lot of pressure and stress. She didn't have a lot of friends because, you know, people assumed that she was unapproachable just because she was doing well at things. And in any case, she just kind of tied that to a lot of unhappiness. And so when she meets God, she's like, I just want to be average because that way, you know, I can just do my thing and people will find me approachable and I can actually like enjoy life. And the problem is that she says average, but she's not really specific about what she means. Let's just say that in a world where you have everything from like, you know, amoebas all the way up to elder dragons. Average, you should probably be really specific that you want to be an average human based on just humans, because, yeah, you can all sort of see where this one is going. It's cute. It was actually a really funny and entertaining read because, she just is working so hard to try and fit in and hide the fact that she's got these ridiculous abilities. And, yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun, actually. I've got the second volume, and I definitely want to read some more of it. At number 7, with 7,664 copies sold, Volume 18 of Ascendance of a Bookworm. Yeah, I just talked about this in the last video. It is finally been licensed for English release by J-Novel Club. They're releasing it digitally starting in May. They'll be releasing it in print starting in September. Partly that's because there is an anime that's going to be coming out based on this series. This one telling the story about a young girl who is absolutely in love with books, and she's aiming to become a librarian, and then meets, of course, a tragic end. And when she's reborn in a new world, she actually finds out that the literacy rate is really low, her family is relatively poor, and books, because of all of those things, are really almost unattainable. And so she decides that she wants to still have tons of books and be surrounded by books, so she strikes out on a journey to create books herself. This one going to be a big sort of appeal, obviously, to bookworms and people who love books, and I've heard nothing but great things about this series. The only criticism I have heard every now and then is that sometimes it can be a little bit maybe over the top and describing things as, quality of paper, binding glue, things like that. So depending on your interest level in those kind of things, there might be the odd bump in the road that makes you go, ooh, this is a slow read. But overall, it just sounds like it is such a good series. It's been number 1 for 2 years for Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi on the Tankobon list. Yeah, I'm really excited to check this series out. And I said in the last video, I'll probably wait until September when it actually comes out in print to do my read and review of it because, well, it just seems appropriate to have it in print, At number 6, with 7,821 copies sold, I ain't even going to say it, it's the Doraemon novelization. Yes, I've talked about this one in countless videos at this point. Good Lord, Doraemon. Good Lord. It's the new movie. I'm not saying anything more. If you want to look it up, feel free to Google it. At number 5, with 8,139 copies sold, volume number 4 of Maou Gakuin no Futekigousha. This one was actually in the last video. After 2,000 years have passed, the ruthless demon lord has just been reincarnated. So basically, this is the one, I'm just going to summarize because literally I just recorded that video. In any case, this one about the demon lord who is just so sick of like all the war and death and destruction and everything else. And so he's just like, screw it, you know what? I'm just going to reincarnate way in the future and hopefully things will be chill then and I can just like lead a relaxing life. And he finds that the world is at peace. So at peace that his people have become silly, kind of weak, and so weak that with his ridiculous powers, they actually think he's inept because they can't even measure his abilities because he's so off the scale. And he decides to enroll, I guess, in this academy that's trying to find the next demon lord, and it's about him trying to fight his way to the top even though everybody thinks he's inept. And you gotta think, if he was ridiculously OP, like, it wouldn't take long for him to prove to people that he's not inept, but I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing this is just, I'm guessing this is maybe a comedic series, but like when you take a look at the cover though, it doesn't really give me that comedy vibe. I'm not too sure. I know in the last one, I said, if you're familiar with the series, let me know in terms of why he joins the school to become the next demon lord, because it doesn't seem to really make sense given that he was kind of looking to get out of the role. But my theory was that it was because everything had gone to hell and he wanted to, become demon lord, bring it back up. But, really, what the heck is the story of this thing, man? Like, is it funny? Is it a comedy? Is it sort of slapsticky? Is it more serious? Like, I'm curious, because I gotta be honest, this sounds like the kind of series that we might one day actually get licensed. At number 4, with 11,285 copies sold, volume number 6 of Asakusa Devil Wife Diary. Because of the light that lives in the city of Asakusa, the strongest demons on the go runs around. Maki Takagi, a high school girl who lives in Asakusa and loves Asakusa Gourmet. She has a secret in her neck, which can be solved every day with human beings and other troubles related to refreshment and solving her strength. Is it that Maki has the memory of a previous generation, and that previous life is not as a human being, but as the princess of the Oni, who made her name in the Heian period, Dagi Ogaki? For the Sakers who are troubled by the classmates who are the reincarnations of Shuyo Doji, who used to be the husband in the previous life, and the family of Tosu, who run a long-established soba restaurant, who suffer from black bite, the strongest on the go run around the city of Asakusa today. Wow, what? Okay. So that was the Google translation. I tried to even it out, but it's, in any case, basically, so this is a story about a girl, modern day Japan. She is the reincarnation of this Oni princess. One of her classmates is the reincarnation of her husband, and I believe a couple of her other classmates or schoolmates are reincarnations of like her retainers or whatever. So it sounds like it's kind of like a supernatural, like I imagine, I mean, I don't know a lot about this. Some of you tried to help me out a little bit on Twitter with this one. I imagine this one is kind of like your magic battle high school type setup. Like, I imagine that there's probably people from their past that come back into their life that are opponents and stuff like that. Like, that's my guess. I don't know, but if you know, let me know in the comments down below. At number 3, with 11,305 copies sold, volume number 16 of Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody. Yes, this one, of course, we talked about on the last video, licensed for English release by Yen On. This one, the story about a game programmer who, after a death march, so working a crap ton of hours in a row, basically crawls under his desk to finally grab a little bit of a nap, and when he wakes up, finds out that he's in a world that's kind of game-like, and he's super low, like, grade. He's got, like, level 1, basically no equipment, but he does have this one skill that he can use up to 3 times. And it's like meteor shower or whatever. And, well, he uses it against an army that's charging towards him. And because he wipes them out, he gains massive, massive experience points and treasure and everything else. And instant OP. And basically the rest of the series is basically about him adventuring in this world and checking this world out and meeting people and stuff like that. It's supposedly kind of a laid-back series. Again, I've only read the first volume. I've heard from a number of people you got to give it a couple before it really sort of kicks into gear. I talked a bit in the last video about how like the anime seemed to get kind of mediocre, lukewarm responses. So yeah, again, one of those series that seems to be fairly underrated on the English side of things and yet seems to be quite popular in Japan. At number 2, with 17,246 copies sold, volume number 10 of Goblin Slayer. Of course, this one is licensed for English release by Yen On. They're going to be actually releasing the 7th volume in May. So this one, of course, about the man who has dedicated himself to the single mission of eradicating goblins, the fantasy magic series with a very, very heavy D&D influence, so much so that the characters don't even have names, they're just named whatever their title is. This one, of course, had an anime that kicked up a little bit of controversy in the first episode, mainly just, I think, because people didn't have the proper warning about what they were about to watch. But generally seemed well received beyond that. It's actually a series that I really actually enjoy the light novels. In fact, we even did a whole podcast for Goblin Slayer. And yeah, I mean, you know what? I just really like the dungeon diving vibe of it. And I like the characters. I like the way that the characters interact with each other. I kind of like Goblin Slayer as a character where, you know, he's so damaged when you start in volume number 1. And as you go through the volumes, he's just coming out of his shell a little bit more and like learning to deal with people a little bit more and learning to adapt to different situations and stuff like that. And yeah, I've really enjoyed sort of his character journey as well. So just, you know what, a series that definitely not for everybody. I mean, it does have, of course, a lot of dark stuff that not everybody wants to read. Fair enough. But you know what, if you don't mind the dark and gritty bits, overall, I think, you know, it's actually a really entertaining series. Finally, at number 1, with 18,037 copies sold, Volume 22 of A Certain Magical Index, New Testament. So yes, this one didn't make it to number 1 last week, but it has taken that title during this week of March 11th to the 17th. Of course, the sequel series to A Certain Magical Index, not yet licensed for English release. A Certain Magical Index is being released by Yen-On, but they haven't finished it yet. I imagine they will pick this series up. If they don't, there's probably going to be wholesale revolt. So I expect that we'll hear in the next year sometime that this one has been picked up by Yen-On. And really, that's all I'm going to say about it. You know, A Certain Magical Index, the series, the main series, of course, set in a world with, well, I mean, with a huge array of things. Magic, religion against magic, angels, demons, you name it. Science against magic, science trying to control magic. Yeah, it's a pretty big series. We did a podcast on it, and of course, I've only read the first volume, so I basically just sat there and listened as all the guys went off about all the craziness that's in that series, and they were only talking about the first couple volumes. So, yeah, it definitely one of those series that sounds like requires a little bit of dedication to, and, well, I haven't yet, so in any case, it's number 1. In this video, I want to say a special thanks to Patrick Mbahi, Fixlab.com, Michaela Werner, Megas, Cine, and Philip Vosseberg for their support on Patreon, as well as the support of all of my patrons for just helping to fuel this channel and my motivation as well. Just a, you know, special thank you to all of you. So those are the top 10 light novels in Japan for March 11th to the 17th of 2019. I promised I was going to hammer a couple of these out really quick. I'm hoping that the third one, as I'm talking to you, I haven't finished all the notes for the third one, but it should be up before April 30th. Fingers crossed, and then, you know, at least once we hit into May, I can get into the April stuff. So, with that said, thank you so much for joining me in this video, and I look forward to seeing you in, well, any of my future ones. Till then, bye-bye for now.